Deborah Langford stood on her front lawn with her arms crossed. She wasn't shouting, wasn't angry, just watching. Across the street, a matte black Lamborghini pulled into the driveway. No music, no noise, just a clean stop. The door opened. Marcus Cole stepped out. Calm, neat, no flash. He saw her, nodded politely, not smug, not mocking, just respectful. She didn't nod back. She stared at him like he'd broken something, like his car, his presence, was an insult. She turned and walked inside. Marcus stood still for 1 moment longer, then clicked his key. Lock beeped once, then silence. But behind his eyes, this isn't over. He didn't need to raise his voice. He just needed them to keep underestimating him. They thought he was just another nobody. What they didn't know, he built the system they just tried to erase him from. Deborah didn't know what that car meant. To her, it was noise, ego, flash. But to Marcus, it was proof. It was years of restraint, quiet battles, patience that nobody ever noticed. It wasn't about showing off. It was about finally being seen without asking for permission. And now she had seen him, not as a neighbor, as a threat. If you've ever watched someone get dismissed and stayed quiet, hit like, drop a comment. Where in the world are you watching from? Some stories don't start loud, but silence? That's where everything begins. Marcus Cole is 44 years old. He doesn't wear it loudly. No gray in the beard. No back pain. No midlife crisis. But you can tell, if you pay attention, that he's lived more lives than most people twice his age. He's 6'1", fit but not flashy. The kind of man who can lift a couch by himself and not make a show of it. Who stands straight because he trained his body to resist folding, even when the world tried to bend him. He's an information systems specialist. Self-employed now. He runs audits for small to mid-size firms, helping them untangle what the previous tech guy broke. Data integrity, security protocols, that kind of thing. He used to work corporate, big firm, glass building, white badge, controlled access, long hours, until one day, a contract went sideways. He fixed it, quietly, saved the company millions. Someone else took the credit. Marcus didn't fight it. He took notes. He waited. 2 months later, he resigned. He built his own shop. Lean, remote, selective. Just the clients he chose. Quietly thriving. No billboard. No big logo. Just results and referrals from people who respect quiet excellence. He's the kind of man you don't notice until you need him. And by the time you realize how good he is, he's already gone. And your system's finally working again. That's Marcus. Deliberate, disciplined, unbothered. He lives in a 2-story modern colonial, tucked between the golf course hill and the junior high. Neutral colors, simple landscaping, a single chair on the porch he never actually sits in. His day starts at 5:30, sharp. He runs exactly 3 miles. No earbuds, no phone. Just the sound of shoes on pavement and thoughts that keep to themselves. He returns, unlocks the door. Same key, same pocket, same ocean. Coffee, 2 sugars, no cream, 1 piece of toast, 1 egg poached. Always timed just right. He eats standing up, washes the plate, dries it, puts it back. Then he opens the blinds. Every morning, Deborah Langford is already out there, across the street, watering the same 3 hydrangeas that don't need watering, repositioning a gnome that hasn't moved in 6 years, picking up a leaf that isn't hers, her version of patrolling. She doesn't wave, she doesn't smile, she glances, every single morning, like she's checking to make sure he didn't bring the wrong kind of guest home, like she's hoping, just once, that maybe he didn't come home at all. Marcus sees it. Of course he does. He just nods, slight, courteous, the kind of nod that says, I see you seeing me. That's enough. He doesn't hate her. He doesn't need her approval. He just doesn't forget. Because Marcus remembers everything. He remembers the way the HOA sent him the wrong version of the guidelines, with missing pages. The way his mailbox was left unlocked for 2 weeks after he moved in. The way the street repair notice skipped his address, but still towed his car. He never accused anyone, never knocked on doors, never raised his voice. He just documented. Photos, timestamps, board emails. He has screenshots, logs, a folder in his drive labeled miscellaneous. But it isn't random. It's precise, organized, structured. Because Marcus didn't grow up in the kind of world where you got second chances to explain yourself. You had to get it right the first time. Quietly, cleanly. And when you were right, you had to prove it. Over and over. Even now in this so-called quiet neighborhood, where the streets are named after birds and the fences are all the same color, Marcus knows how fast quiet can turn. He learned young. 7th grade. Science fair. His project. A self-watering plant system. The teacher said he couldn't have built it alone. Called his dad to check. His dad said, "My son did the work. That's enough." Then hung up. The principal told him to submit it again, but this time with written steps and photos. Marcus didn't argue. He just did it. Then did it again. Then made copies. By graduation he had learned. Proof is armor. So now, decades later, nothing about Marcus is sloppy. Not the way he walks. Not the way he locks his car. Not the way he stores receipts. Everything is intentional. Even silence. Especially silence. Neighbors assume he's quiet because he's shy, or antisocial, or just doesn't care. They don't realize silence is strategic. It creates space. It reveals things. The people who talk too much, they fill that space with assumptions. Like the man 2 doors down who once asked Marcus if the Lamborghini was leased. Like the woman from the next block who said, "Wow, you must play ball," or something. Like Deborah Langford, who once told the mail carrier, in a voice just loud enough, "Some people move in, but that doesn't mean they belong." Marcus didn't respond. He just opened a new folder. Langford Observations. He doesn't plan to use it. Not unless he has to. But he watches. Quietly. Constantly. He sees the way she posts in the neighborhood app. Talks about standards and preserving our values. He notices when she changes the lighting on her porch to be a few watts brighter, pointed toward his driveway. He hears the extra beep from her security cam every time he steps outside. He logs it. Not because he's paranoid, because he knows what it looks like when systems build patterns against you. And he knows that the most dangerous thing you can do to someone who depends on control is to be unshakably calm. Marcus isn't calm because he's passive. He's calm because he's prepared. He lives like a man who expects to be challenged, not by chaos, but by protocol. So he makes sure his own protocols are airtight. Because when it comes, and it will come, he wants there to be no question. Who started it? Who escalated it? And who was watching? Marcus had only lived in the neighborhood for 11 months. Not quite a year. Long enough to learn the rhythms. Short enough to still feel like an outsider. At least to people like Deborah Langford. It was supposed to be a fresh chapter. Not flashy, not loud. Just peace. After years of working contract to contract, across cities, across countries, Marcus wanted roots. He wanted mornings where he could run without checking his back. Where he could fix a leak in the roof without worrying if the landlord would stall or raise the rent. He wanted a door he could lock and know no one had a copy of the key. So he bought the house. He paid in full. No mortgage. That fact alone rattled some people more than the Lamborghini ever did, especially when the paperwork started glitching. The first sign came the week after he moved in. The gate system didn't recognize his access code. He buzzed the security office. They said his name wasn't in the resident registry. He told them it had been submitted by the real estate office. They told him to try again next week. He waited. Next week, same problem. Then it was the HOA login portal. The username they gave him didn't work. He requested a reset. No response. He called the listed number. It rang twice, then voicemail. He left a message. Then another. Then another. Still nothing. Eventually, someone emailed him back. A clerk. They said his email wasn't in the system. He replied with a screenshot, his welcome letter from the HOA, clearly listing the same address, same email, same name. The response? We're looking into it. No apology. No timeline. Just that. Then came the parking notice. A bright orange sticker on his windshield, claiming he had violated the overnight parking limit for non-residents. He peeled it off calmly, walked inside, pulled up the security cam footage from his driveway. The footage clearly showed the car entering the neighborhood through the main gate, using his own code, parking in his own driveway. He clipped the footage, attached the timestamp, sent it to the HOA board. No response. 3 days later, another sticker. This time with a warning. Marcus didn't respond. He documented every email, every voicemail, every piece of correspondence. He started a folder labeled Access Denial. It didn't stop there. The gym fob they issued him didn't work. The package room said they couldn't release deliveries to someone without a verified ID in the system. He showed them his government ID. They said it didn't match the system file. When he asked to see what was listed under his name, the attendant hesitated, then said, "That's not something I can show you, sir." Marcus smiled softly. "Understand." Then he stepped back, pulled out his phone, tapped twice to start recording. He asked again, slowly, clearly, "Just to confirm, I'm not allowed to see what information is connected to my own name in the system?" The attendant blinked. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying I don't know the policy." He nodded. "Okay, thank you." Then he ended the recording, saved the file, named it Package Room, May 14th, refusal of access. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten anyone. He just collected facts. By the end of month 3, Marcus had amassed dozens of files, misdelivered mail, trash skipped for pickup, memos that excluded his address from block-wide notices. He didn't assume conspiracy. He didn't cry racism. He didn't need to, because the pattern spoke for itself. He knew what it meant when a system misnames you once and corrects it, and what it meant when they misspell your name over and over, even after you correct it. He knew the difference between a one-time error and structural neglect. They didn't see it. They just saw a quiet man with a fast car and too much patience. They assumed he was tolerating it because he didn't have a choice. They didn't know patience wasn't weakness. It was strategy. Then came the neighborhood board meeting. It was his first one. He didn't go to speak. He just wanted to observe. They met in a multi-purpose room behind the clubhouse. Marcus arrived on time, sat in the back. The meeting started with small updates, garden club, street repair, a new community mural. Then came a discussion about increased traffic and unfamiliar faces. Deborah Langford was the first to speak. She didn't say names. She didn't have to. She talked about patterns shifting, about noticing new cars, about feeling less safe lately. Others nodded. Not all, but enough. One man asked if they had data. She said, "Sometimes the data is in your gut." That got murmurs of approval. Marcus sat still. No one looked at him directly, but he knew. He could feel it. They weren't saying his name, but they were talking about him. After the meeting, he walked quietly to the table where the secretary sat, logging attendance. She looked up. Name, Marcus Cole. She scrolled. HM. I don't see you registered as a resident. I am. Maybe it's under a different spelling? He leaned forward, pointed to the line on the sheet. Is that Marcus with a C or a K? The woman flushed slightly. With a C. Right. So, Marcus Cole. C-O-L. She hesitated, then wrote it down. He didn't smile, didn't make a scene. He just nodded, turned, and left. That night, he made a backup of all his files. Then he started a new folder, Board Patterns. Inside it, he began building a chart. Left column, date. Middle column, event. Right column, outcome. He color-coded the entries. Green, resolved with confirmation. Yellow, unresolved but acknowledged. Red, denied, ignored, or reversed. By the end of the week, there were 12 reds. Marcus didn't need to predict what would happen next. He had seen this before. Systems that make you invisible in small, polite ways. A badge that doesn't scan. A file that's not showing up. A voice that's ignored in a room where everyone else is heard. It starts with silence, and it stacks until one day someone crosses a line. And by then the system is so used to silencing you, they forget you were listening the entire time. Marcus didn't move fast. He moved right. Every time they bent the system to exclude him, he tightened his routine. Every overlooked request, every denied entry, every skipped notice. All of it became part of the record. Not for drama, not for revenge, for clarity. He wasn't building a case. He was building a mirror. One day they'd be forced to look at what they'd done. And this time, the story wouldn't be theirs to spin. He just didn't know the day would come so soon. It started with a photo, a small one, framed. Nothing special. It sat on the corner of Marcus's desk. A candid picture of his father in uniform, Vietnam, 1971, laughing beside a muddy truck, sleeves rolled up, cigarette in hand. No pose, no medals, just real. His father died when Marcus was 20. Heart failure, years of labor, stress, and untreated illness catching up all at once. The photo was one of only 3 Marcus kept from that time. So when he returned home one Tuesday afternoon and found the front door slightly ajar, nothing stolen, nothing broken. But the photo gone from his desk, something shifted. No forced entry, no alarms triggered, no sign of damage, just absence. He stood there for a long time. No anger, just silence. Then he checked the cameras. Footage, Monday, 4:42 p.m. 2 maintenance workers, not the usual ones. Uniforms slightly different. No company logos. Clipboards. One rang the bell. The other typed something into a phone. No one answered. Marcus was out on a service call. They waited, then used a key. The lock turned smoothly. They entered. 23 minutes later, they exited. No tool bags. No dirt. No signs of work. Just paperwork in hand and a small, dark object tucked under one of their clipboards. It was blurry, but Marcus knew. It was the frame. He filed the report within the hour. Not to the HOA, not to security, to the police, not for the photo, for unauthorized entry. He sent the footage. He submitted a statement. He copied the HOA, the board, and the property manager on the email. Attached 4 PDFs. His signed access agreement. His security cam footage. His insurance inventory list. A time-stamped log of every interaction with building maintenance. Then he waited. 3 days passed. No one responded. Friday morning, a letter arrived from the HOA board. Typed, formal, polite. It read, after reviewing recent concerns raised regarding property access, we regret any misunderstanding and would like to remind all residents that emergency inspections may be conducted with appropriate cause. Please note, as per Clause 7B of the Community Handbook, the board reserves the right to enter residences under conditions deemed urgent or safety-related. No violation was found. No apology. No explanation. And no mention of the missing photo. Marcus didn't flinch. He opened a new file. Clause 7B, Presence. He pulled old notices, emails from other residents, cases where inspections were announced, documented, confirmed in writing. Each case included advance warning. None were surprise visits. Not one. He printed the full clause, highlighted 3 lines in red, and scanned it into his log. Then he backed up the footage to an encrypted drive and stored a second copy off-site. That was the first line, but it wasn't the last. The second came 1 week later. Marcus was out for a late run. When he returned, he noticed something strange. His trash bins, which he'd placed at the curb just that morning, were missing. Not knocked over. Gone. He checked both sides of the street. Nothing. He checked the app. No collection scheduled that day. He pulled up the footage again. 3:17 p.m. A silver SUV pulls up beside his driveway. The license plate is partially obscured, but the make is familiar. It matches the vehicle parked in front of Deborah Langford's house. A woman exits, gloves on, sunglasses, hoodie. She looks both ways, then lifts one of the bins with effort, the heavier of the two, and loads it into the back. Then the second. Then she drives off. Marcus sits back from the screen, calm, still. He knows what this is. They're not just trying to erase access. They're testing his boundaries, seeing how far they can go before he does raise his voice. He doesn't give them that. He gives them records. He clips the video. He files a second police report. He sends a follow-up email to the HOA board, attaching both footage sets and requesting a formal security inquiry. This time, the response comes fast. A lawyer, not from his side, from theirs. The email reads, Dear Mr. Cole, we acknowledge receipt of your recent documentation and would like to encourage resolution through internal channels before pursuing further legal action. Please note that unverified allegations and surveillance use must comply with community standards. We welcome continued dialogue on the matter. Regards, Richard D. Levins, Community Counsel. Marcus reads it twice, then forwards it to his own attorney, just in case. But the real break doesn't come until the next meeting. 2 weeks later, another board session. Same room. Marcus doesn't sit this time. He stands near the back, arms folded. The meeting flows normally. Flower fund. Recycling updates new bylaws for signage. Then Deborah speaks. She stands to read a prepared statement. It's vague, polished, but the tone is unmistakable. She speaks of unneighborly behavior, of individuals creating tension through excessive monitoring, of a culture of fear based on suspicion and surveillance. No one says Marcus's name, but everyone knows. And Marcus? He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't respond. He waits until the end, when the floor opens for comments. He walks forward, quiet, measured. He pulls a single page from his folder and lays it on the table. It's a screenshot from the footage. Deborah, with the trash bins. Time, date, clear as day. Then another page. The men in uniform, with the clipboard, leaving his house. Then another. The car, license plate. Then the final page. The clause. Clause 7B. Highlighted, annotated, compared to real notices. He doesn't say much. He doesn't have to. Just one sentence. You wouldn't want to walk that back. The room goes still. Marcus didn't return to the next board meeting. He didn't need to. He had already said everything without raising his voice. The documents he placed on that folding table did more damage than a lawsuit ever could. They didn't scream. They didn't threaten. They just exposed. And exposure to people like Deborah Langford is worse than punishment. But Marcus wasn't done. What happened next wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about proving he never needed their permission to be right. The following Monday, a black sedan pulled into the community entrance. No music, no noise, no hesitation. It rolled past the security gate cleanly with a badge swipe and parked across from Marcus's house. The back door opened. Out stepped Diana Tran, mid-30s, sharp suit, sharper mind. She was an analyst, federal level, Department of Civil Compliance. She didn't wear a badge on her chest. This one clipped inside her laptop bag. Marcus greeted her with a nod. She didn't smile, not because she was unfriendly, but because she was already processing the layout of the neighborhood, the positioning of each security camera, the line of sight angles, the community layout. She wasn't just a friend. She was part of a system, the real one, the one Deborah never imagined Marcus had access to. Back in his living room, Diana opened her laptop, scanned his folders. You kept everything? Marcus nodded once. Organized, time-stamped, mirrored offline. She scrolled through footage logs, exported reports from the HOA system showing inconsistencies. She whistled softly. Jesus. They actually redacted your name from internal notices. He nodded again. Her voice stayed even. That's federal discrimination. It won't stick at first, but we'll make it stick. He didn't look proud, just ready. Later that week, another visitor came. Angela Monroe, retired Air Force, systems engineer, Marcus's old supervisor, and one of the few people in his past life who understood the full scope of what he used to do. She didn't knock gently. She knocked like someone who didn't need to ask permission. When Marcus opened the door, she handed him a folder. Inside were letters. Not one, not two, but 13. Each one from a previous contract, company, or agency. Each one stating in clear, precise language the same fact. Marcus Cole was not only qualified, he was foundational. He hadn't just worked within large data systems. He had helped design parts of them. The gate access protocols, the dispute audit flowcharts, the very compliance policies that HOA boards were now trying to weaponize against him. Angela looked him in the eye. You want to go quiet? I'll step back. Marcus didn't blink. I'm not here to make noise, he said. I'm here to remove excuses. A week passed. Then a letter arrived, this time addressed to Marcus, not about him. It was stamped from the County Office of Civil Review. Formal language, but the message was clear. Due to multiple filings including attached documentation from previous federal contractors. They would be conducting an informal review of governance activity within the HOA. Not a full investigation. Not yet. But a crack. And cracks spread. The HOA board scrambled. They called an emergency closed meeting. No minutes were published. No emails went out. But Marcus already had a copy of the agenda. He always had a copy. And this time, he wasn't going to that meeting as a silent resident. He was walking through the door as a witness. He arrived on time. Not early, not late. Just enough to make them squirm. Deborah was already seated, flanked by 2 other board members. They tried to hide their discomfort. Failed. One of them, Paul Sampson, the treasurer, cleared his throat. "Mr. Cole, this is actually a closed session." Marcus nodded. "I know. I'm here as a registered federal technical consultant under Review Code 83D. He slid a small, sealed envelope across the table. Paul didn't open it. Deborah did. Her eyes scanned the first few lines, then froze, because listed in that envelope, clearly legally, was Marcus's official registration as a systems compliance analyst, retained for technical advisory on HOA infrastructure design. 3 years ago. That's right. He helped design the system they were now abusing. They tried to recover. Okay. Well, even so, we weren't aware. You were, Marcus said. He placed another document on the table, an email dated and verified from the HOA's founding tech vendor. It listed Marcus as a consulting architect for the software migration phase. His name, his ID, his access, his footprint, in the very code they were using to block him out. Angela stepped forward from the back of the room. She nodded to Marcus, then to the room. I can verify the back-end structure. If you push this, we'll push back. No threats, just certainty. Deborah tried one last move. She laughed, a tight, sharp sound. You, please. The room went quiet. Marcus didn't react. He didn't need to, because the power reversal wasn't coming. It had already happened. They just hadn't realized it. Yet, after the meeting, no one said much. Marcus walked home. No dramatics, no parade. But when he opened his front door, his neighbor, the one 2 doors down who never spoke, nodded at him. A real nod. No words, just recognition. Sometimes the shift doesn't need to be announced. Sometimes it just settles. Deborah Langford had a good morning. Coffee brewed the way she liked it. Her favorite mug clean, not sitting in the sink. The air was cool, but not cold. Her lawn pristine. Sprinklers already off. Hydrangeas intact. She opened the community app and scrolled. The usual noise. A dog lost, then found. Someone complaining about trash pickup. A young couple asking if the HOA could approve their paint color sooner than 2 months. She didn't comment. She just watched. Then a new post appeared. No name, just a video. She tapped it. The sound kicked in right away. Her own driveway. Her voice. Calling Marcus aggressive for asking about the parking stickers. The footage switched. Now it was her, dragging his trash bins into the back of her SUV. She froze. Another cut. Her voice again at the board meeting, warning others about oversurveillance and neighborhood discomfort. Cut again to Marcus's security camera, showing her walking past his house at night, flashlight in hand, pausing to aim it directly into his garage. No edits, no narration, just raw, time-stamped footage. And then, at the end, a single quote on screen. You're going to want to walk that back. She didn't finish her coffee. Marcus hadn't posted the video. Someone else had. Someone with access to the footage. Yes, but also access to the story. Someone tired of watching from the sidelines. And it spread. Not virally. Not with hashtags and explosions. Quietly, among residents. Group chats. Board emails. Have you seen this? Whispers. No one said Marcus's name, but everyone knew. And for the first time, Deborah's silence wasn't power. It was fear. Marcus stayed still. Let the weight shift on its own. He had no interest in dragging her through the mud. She had done that herself. He was working on something else now. Something cleaner. Something permanent. He opened a folder called Chain of Command. Inside a map. Lines of responsibility. Who signed off on what? Who authorized access? Who ignored reports? He built it slowly. No one name was responsible for what happened to him. That was the danger and the design. Neglect was passed like a hot potato. Board to assistant. Assistant to clerk. Clerk to policy. Policy to we're just following protocol. But Marcus didn't accept confusion as a shield. He accepted only data. He gathered the memo where Deborah requested the board expedite action on unauthorized resident behaviors. The work order that scheduled the illegal maintenance entry, signed by Paul Sampson. The email where the property manager told another resident, "We had to delay your request." Someone more sensitive complained loudly. The receipts showing a third-party security vendor had been quietly hired. One Marcus's home camera captured parking across from his house for 4 nights straight. Then he added one more item, an invoice. Deborah's personal donation to the HOA $4,000 Mark Neighborhood Appearance Fund, made 1 week after Marcus moved in. The timing wasn't subtle. He submitted the documents to the County Civil Oversight Committee, not as a complaint, as a report, accompanied by a formal request for a pattern of practice review under property access and governance bias. Once filed, it could not be ignored. The office confirmed receipt within 48 hours. Attached was a case number. Deborah was called in for a clarification interview. She arrived with sunglasses on, hair pulled tight, voice firm. "I don't have anything to hide," she told the officer. They didn't press. They just played the footage. No narration, no questions, just her actions, her words, her pattern. At the end, the investigator asked just one thing. "Would you like to submit a statement before this becomes official?" Her answer was quiet, almost too quiet. Yes, but the damage was already logged. Marcus didn't smile when he got the update. He didn't celebrate. He moved forward, because there was still one person left to face. Not Deborah. Paul Sampson, treasurer. The man who laughed at Marcus's first complaint. The one who signed the work order. The one who authorized the sticker policy and then denied ever doing so. Marcus requested a meeting. Paul agreed. They sat across from each other in the empty clubhouse. Marcus placed 3 folders on the table. No words. Paul looked down. First folder, emails. Second folder, maintenance logs. Third folder, bank transfers. Paul said nothing. Marcus leaned in. "I'm not here for your apology," he said. "I'm here for your signature." Paul frowned. "What signature?" Marcus slid across a formal withdrawal form. Board resignation. Effective immediately. Paul shook his head. "This isn't how things are done." Marcus said nothing. Just tapped the pen. Paul looked at the camera in the corner. He looked back at the files. Then he signed. The pen clicked, and it was done. Later that week, Deborah's front yard was quiet. No watering, no lawn rearranging, no glares, just silence. The kind that feels like retreat. The kind that follows someone being seen, truly seen for the first time. It didn't take long. Marcus knew it wouldn't. Systems like this don't collapse quietly. When power feels itself slipping, it doesn't vanish. It mutates. And so did Deborah and Paul. And the network they had always denied existed. It began with a letter. Not from the HOA. From a firm. A real one. Expensive logo, 3 names, all last names. The letter claimed that Marcus had violated the community's privacy standards by collecting footage, sharing data without consent, and misusing internal communications. There was no lawsuit yet, but the threat was clear. This was lawfare. Legal pressure meant to drain time, energy, and silence a person who won't go quietly. Marcus didn't flinch. He knew the tone. He had read hundreds like it in his previous life, written them, redlined them, trained people on how to weaponize them. This wasn't accountability. It was strategy. So he responded the only way that works when systems start swinging. Receipts. He wrote no long defense. He didn't beg, didn't explain. He submitted a single counterstatement through his attorney with 5 attachments. A signed policy showing the HOA's consent to surveillance on personal property. The clause that allowed residents to submit recordings as dispute evidence. A screenshot of Deborah's public posts referencing him with his name before he ever went public. An affidavit from a neighbor confirming the timeline. A copy of the appearance fund Deborah had quietly funneled through board discretion. The law firm backed off. Not publicly, but they didn't send another letter. They blinked first. But that was just the opening round. The next hit came fast. This time it wasn't legal. It was personal. Someone leaked a photo of Marcus. Old, grainy, uniform, desert background, military fatigue. But it wasn't celebratory. The caption read, "From tech guy to trigger guy. What is Marcus Cole hiding about his past?" It appeared on a community blog, one run by a self-proclaimed local news advocate. The kind that doesn't check sources, that thrives on fear. Within hours, the post had been screenshotted and forwarded through parent groups, security group chats, private HOA subthreads. No context, no history, just enough to spark the old game. Fear by implication. They wanted to change the story, from quiet man who was violated to unstable veteran with something to hide. Marcus recognized it instantly. He had seen it happen to others, to colleagues, to whistleblowers, to neighbors in other towns who dared speak up, only to have the system dig through their past, looking for something, anything, that could be twisted. He knew this wasn't about his photo. It was about his control. They couldn't beat the data, so they attacked the man. He didn't respond publicly. He responded with a new file. Smear campaign, phase 1. He tracked IP data from a blog. It was posted anonymously, but the domain host pinged back to a local office address, registered under a shell name. That shell linked to a PAC. And the PAC? Paul Sampson's brother-in-law sat on the board. The connection wasn't illegal, but it wasn't invisible either. He logged it, added it to the timeline. No comments, no firestorm, just structure. The next move came from someone inside. Marcus received an envelope, unmarked, hand-delivered. Inside, a printed screenshot, an email thread between Deborah and a board consultant. Subject line, "Keep him out of the next vote." One sentence in bold, "We can use the ID policy. His registration glitched last time. No one will question it again." Marcus read it once, then again, then filed it under a new tab. Election interference, internal ops. He didn't send it anywhere yet. He knew how systems work. Push too soon, and they pivot. Wait long enough, and they unravel themselves. But even Marcus wasn't prepared for what came next. The media request, a real reporter, local news, investigative. They emailed him after receiving anonymous concerns about his behavior in the neighborhood. Said they were looking into allegations of community disruption, possible illegal surveillance, and misuse of personal data. The phrasing was careful, polite, deadly. Marcus declined to comment for now. Then he wrote a full memo, documented every press contact, every whisper, every indirect accusation. He wasn't just responding now. He was archiving playbook. The neighborhood started to split, not openly, but visibly. Some people pulled their kids away when Marcus walked by. Some kept waving. More earnestly now. 2 homes took down their "We support our board" signs. One house posted a new one. "Truth lives here." Still, Marcus felt it. The weight of trying to stay silent in a system that twists every breath into threat. He started sleeping less, waking up early not to run, but to check if someone had touched his car. He got up once at 3 a.m. because a sound outside made him think of the photo again. He checked. Nothing. He sat in the dark for an hour after that. Not scared, just tired. That's what systems like this do. Not crush you all at once, but exhaust you into surrender. And for a moment, just a moment, he considered letting it all go. The files, the claims, the work. He didn't need to win. He just wanted peace. Was this still peace? But then, the next morning, something happened. He stepped outside and saw a man he'd never spoken to, older, quiet, retired. The man nodded at him, then said, "I used to be a lawyer. I know what they're trying to do." He handed Marcus a flash drive, walked away, didn't explain. Marcus took it inside, plugged it in, and what he saw made him sit down fast. Because on that drive was a full archive of internal board emails. Someone had leaked the server. Every thread, every meeting, every tactic, the spin, the deletion orders, the buried warnings from other residents, everything. They'd tried to break him, but someone inside just handed him the key to break the system. The flash drive wasn't labeled. No stickers, no marks, no names. But when Marcus plugged it in, the structure was clear. There were 4 folders. HOA undefils, private underscore group chats, Legal_strategy_drafts. Trash. He opened HOA for emails first. Inside, thousands of threads. He searched his name. Hits popped up immediately. Some were expected. Threads between board members, security requests, neighborhood votes. But others were darker. One subject line read, "This guy doesn't belong here. Ideas?" Sent from Deborah to Paul. CC'd to a consultant. Another read, "He's too careful. We need a reason to revoke access. Maybe vehicle noncompliance." Attached to that thread, a screenshot of Marcus's car registration. Blurred, clearly pulled from an internal system. He scrolled further, and there it was. The board had been coordinating for months to keep him off ballots, exclude him from key communications, and quietly discredit him without triggering legal retaliation. He leaned back in his chair. No rage, just confirmation. What he'd suspected, what he'd documented, was now undeniable. But it wasn't the evidence that made his hands pause on the keyboard. It was who leaked it. Because tucked inside the trash folder was a single unsent email, written by the HOA secretary. To him. Subject, "I'm sorry." The message never got sent. But she wrote, "I should have said something sooner. I just didn't know how bad it had gotten. They think you won't fight back. But I've seen your files. I know you kept everything. I hope this helps." It was dated 2 weeks ago. She had been watching. Marcus sat with it for a while. He didn't respond. There was no one to respond to. But he opened a new folder on his own desktop. Ally Threads. He added her name. Then the second surprise hit. This time from someone younger. A kid. 17. Lived down the street. He messaged Marcus late one night. "Hey, we're questioning. Can you get in trouble for filming something from your own window?" Marcus replied, "No." A pause. Then the kid sent a video. A clip. Shaky, vertical handheld. But clear. It showed Deborah on her front porch, coaching someone, a hired cleaner or landscaper, on how to leave leaflets at specific houses. Only Marcus's side of the block. The leaflets were HOA rule reminders, printed to look official. They weren't. And the kid had caught on film. He ended the message with, "She yelled at my mom once. I figured this might matter." It mattered. Marcus saved the video, backed up, added the kid's name to Ally Threads. Then came the third crack. The file. An old one, labeled Cole irrelevant. Found in an archive of board meeting minutes from 6 months ago. The file had been flagged by a clerk during a system migration, part of a required audit by the county office. Inside the file, early complaints Marcus had submitted, misfiled, dismissed, marked with a tag, not actionable, resident over-reporting. The language was legal, but the intent was personal. It showed that the board had ignored his earliest warnings, knowingly, not by accident, but by choice. That one file connected the first dots, because now Marcus had proof that this didn't just happen over time. It was engineered. He built a new timeline, stacked the events, mis-delivered mail, deleted emails, missing vote notices, maintenance intrusions, trash theft, coordinated messaging campaigns, smeared veteran photo, legal pressure, press manipulation, false evidence created, internal cover-up, every piece backed by receipts, every link traceable, every action now cross-validated by sources they never thought mattered. A clerk with a conscience, a teenager with a phone, a secretary with regret. Help didn't come loud. It came steady. Marcus updated his submission to the Civil Oversight Committee. He added a new appendix. Community collusion, verified incidents. It was no longer just a pattern. It was a map. And maps, they get people fired. He sent one more email to contact he hadn't used in years, his old military liaison. The message was simple. "It's time." The reply came in under 10 minutes. "We're ready." By the end of the week, the county office dispatched a review team, not for interviews, for inspection. They arrived unannounced. Unmarked cars, quiet clothes, badges only when necessary. They requested files, devices, logs. The HOA board claimed surprise. Marcus provided a catalog, sorted, highlighted, time-stamped. He didn't need to accuse anymore. He just provided the map and let them walk it themselves. Residents started noticing the shift. Board email slowed. Deborah stopped appearing on her lawn. Paul's name disappeared from community documents. Then the big one dropped. A public notice, posted on the community bulletin board, the clubhouse wall, and the neighborhood app. It read, "Effective immediately. A provisional leadership freeze is in place pending external investigation. The HOA board is under review for procedural misconduct and information suppression. Residents will be contacted individually. Please do not delete, alter, or destroy any materials related to community governance or dispute history." The words weren't loud, but the silence that followed, it was thunder. One neighbor, an older woman who'd never made eye contact with Marcus, stopped him at his mailbox. She didn't apologize, didn't explain, just said, "I was wrong," and walked away. That was enough. Not because it changed the past, but because it proved the story had broken through the shell. The letters went out in silence. Certified mail, thick envelopes, neutral tone, not just to Deborah, not just to Paul, to every board member who had signed off on decisions involving Marcus's access, property rights, or file manipulation. 12 in total. Each letter came from the County Office of Civil Review. Each one contained the same phrase: "You are named in an active misconduct investigation regarding administrative suppression, procedural failure, and bias-based governance. Your cooperation is required." Required. Not requested. Not invited. Required. Within 72 hours, Paul Sampson resigned for personal reasons. The HOA treasurer position was marked vacant. Deborah Langford deleted her account on the neighborhood app. 3 members of the board activated emergency counsel. And then came the storm they didn't expect: the insurers. See, most HOAs are covered under liability umbrellas, policies that protect the board from legal fallout due to decisions made in good faith. But what Marcus documented was not good faith. It was targeted, deliberate, and now, thanks to the leaked server files, provable. The insurer sent their own lawyers, and their lawyers had one goal: limit exposure. That meant pull funding from ongoing legal defense, deny coverage for members who acted outside of procedure, freeze access to discretionary funds. In other words, everyone was on their own. Deborah tried to call in favors. The woman who once walked through the neighborhood like she owned the street now waited 3 hours in the lobby of a municipal office, holding a manila folder of excuses. No one took her meeting. Meanwhile, Marcus stayed silent. No interviews, no press. When reporters finally caught wind of the investigation, they circled, asking for quotes, for statements, for the real story. He declined. He let the system speak for itself now. Then came the resignations. Formal, quiet, but undeniable. 8 board members stepped down in 10 days. Not all for guilt, some for fear, some because the cracks reached parts of the foundation no one wanted touched. The HOA president's email account was subpoenaed. They found correspondence involving not just Marcus, but other residents whose complaints had been buried. A single mother whose permit application was lost. A veteran whose gate code failed during an emergency. An elderly couple whose repeated maintenance requests were marked low priority, even after flooding. Marcus hadn't just triggered a personal reckoning. He had unearthed a systemic one. The county published a report, not a press release, an actual report, 83 pages, redacted names, not all, but enough to make it clear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was an operation, one driven by control, image management, and quiet acts of erasure. Marcus's case wasn't the only one, just the most well-documented. The community split again, but this time not by fear, by alignment. Some people left, quietly, sold their homes, moved away. Others stayed and began rebuilding. They formed a temporary council, open-door meetings, transparent votes. They invited Marcus to join. He declined, not out of resentment, but because his work there was done. Instead, he mentored someone, Tarek, a 28-year-old systems admin who'd lived 2 blocks away the entire time, mostly unnoticed. Marcus brought him folders, templates, security protocols. Not for revenge, for structure. Because what falls must be replaced, or the same thing rises again. He visited a grave, his father's, tucked in the veterans section of a quiet cemetery 20 minutes outside the city. He stood there in a charcoal coat. No speech, no music, just memory. A man who once said, "Don't yell to be heard. Document to be remembered." Marcus left a folded note at the base, then walked away. Later that week, he returned to the neighborhood, not to confront, just to observe. The gates work now. His name was in the system. Packages arrived on time. The app notifications no longer skip his address. A child waved at him from a driveway. He waved back. Someone posted on the app that week. We may never know everything that happened behind those doors, but we know this. It's different now. Someone else replied, because one man didn't let it go. And Marcus? He didn't stand on a podium. He didn't file for a position. He watered his own lawn, then turned the hose off, locked the gate behind him, and exhaled, not because it was over, but because he wasn't carrying it alone anymore. It started with a knock, not loud, not urgent, just steady. Marcus opened the door. On the porch stood Elaine Foster, 67, retired teacher, lived 3 houses down, the kind of neighbor who always waved, always smiled, and never asked real questions. She held a manila envelope in her hands, didn't offer it yet, didn't step forward. "I don't expect you to answer," she said. "I just needed to say something where you could hear it." Marcus said nothing. She looked down. "When you moved in, I told myself it was great. Fresh blood. Change." She paused. "But then I stopped talking. I saw things. Little things. I made excuses. I told myself the board knew better. That maybe there was context I didn't see." She finally looked up. "I'm not here to explain that away. I just want you to know I saw it, and I didn't say anything, and that's on me." She held out the envelope. Inside, meeting notes, handwritten, from sessions never recorded. Her own logs, names, comments, a vote she now regretted staying silent on. He took the envelope, didn't thank her, didn't close the door either. She nodded once, turned, and left. That was the first. Then came Marcos Rivera, the maintenance technician, late 30s, sharp eyes, quick hands. He caught Marcus outside by the community trash bins. Said he used to work for the board's preferred contractor, the one that accidentally let strangers into Marcus's home. "They told us we'd be reimbursed if we played dumb," Marcos said. "No IDs, no work orders. Just go fix something and don't log it." I didn't know what they were after. I thought it was about rerouting wiring or checking fire codes. He handed Marcus a printed invoice. Not official, not filed, just real. "I should have walked away then," he said. Marcus took the paper. He didn't need the evidence anymore, but people needed to give it. That was part of healing, too. One night he got a call. Blocked number. He almost didn't answer, but something told him to pick up. It was Cameron, the teenage kid who had filmed Deborah planting fake rule notices. His voice was shaky. "I got into state. I'm studying criminal justice." Marcus smiled. "Good choice." There was silence. Then, "I don't want to be like them." "You won't," Marcus said. "I saw what you did, and how you did it. You didn't yell. You didn't even fight. You just held the line. That was it. No thanks. Just truth." Marcus visited the community center the next day, not to attend a meeting, just to sit in the corner on one of the benches beneath the bulletin board. For an hour, people came and went. Some nodded, some avoided him, but a few stopped, like Mrs. DuPont, whose daughter's accessibility complaint had been delayed for reevaluation. The same week Marcus's account was deactivated. She sat next to him, quietly. "My daughter's ramp got approved. Finally." He nodded. "Not because I yelled," she added, "but because your papers made it impossible for them to say no." She smiled. "That's not justice, but it's something." Then came the last person he expected. Paul. Not at his house. Not in court. Not with a lawyer. At the coffee shop downtown. Marcus walked in, ordered black, sat at the far end. Paul was already there, wearing plain clothes. No suit, no script. He didn't get up, just looked at Marcus. "I didn't believe you," he said. "I thought you were just another guy with a chip on his shoulder." He stirred his coffee. "No one ever told me to target you. It just felt easier not to ask why things were happening, not to stop them. Marcus waited. I used to think people like you made things harder for everyone else, that asking for too much meant nobody got anything. He looked up. I was wrong. Marcus didn't respond. He didn't need to. Paul nodded once, then left his coffee untouched, walked out the door. That night, Marcus opened a drawer he hadn't touched in months. Inside a folder, the one with every letter, photo, statement, everything from the first day to the last. He didn't burn it, didn't archive it. He just closed it again. For now. A week later, the new neighborhood council held its first open session. Marcus attended, sat in the back, didn't speak. They passed new policies, required disclosure of security vendors, formal response deadlines for complaints, equal access audit for voting materials, whistleblower protections. None of them had his name on them. That was the point. The laws didn't need his name. The system now held his footprint. After the meeting, a teenager approached him. Not Cameron. Another one. She held a notebook. I want to write about this. What happened here? Marcus looked at her. Why? She shrugged. Because everyone says it was about a car. But it wasn't, right? He smiled. No, it was about everything they thought I wouldn't notice. She wrote that down. Can I quote you? Marcus shook his head. Right your way. Marcus stood in the hallway of the community center one last time. It was early. No one was there yet. No chair set up. No clatter of overprepared volunteers. No whispers of who would speak when, who would fold when the truth hit too hard. Just stillness. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. A summary, for lines. Case closed. Board dissolved. Compliance policies rewritten. No appeals filed. He smiled, not in triumph, just in completion. He walked to the back room, the one they once told him he wasn't allowed in because his name wasn't on the list. He opened the door without hesitation. Inside shelves, old files, boxes marked by year, not content. He found the box labeled 2023, the year it all began. He opened it. Inside were forms, complaint slips, mailer templates, flyers that once painted him as a problem. He found one. Are you safe in your neighborhood? A question once aimed at him. He folded it once, slid it into his pocket, not to keep it, just to know it no longer held weight. Outside, the day moved on. Kids laughed 2 blocks over. Sprinklers tapped grass in rhythmic beats. The gates worked now every time. No more glitches. No more ejections. Marcus stood by his car. Not the Lamborghini that had been sold months ago. He didn't need it anymore. What it symbolized, visibility, defiance, proof he had already lived. Now he drove something simpler, not cheap, just normal, because peace now didn't need to be performed. It just needed to exist. He visited the HOA office one last time. It had been cleaned out. The receptionist was new, younger, brown-skinned, sharp eyes. She smiled when he walked in. Can I help you? He didn't say much, just handed her a flash drive. It's a template, he said. Policies, accessible language, oversight triggers. Build on it. She blinked, then nodded. I will. He turned to go. She called after him. Mr. Cole, thank you. He paused, then walked out. At home, he opened the drawer again. The folder was still there, unburned, unshredded, untouched. He placed one last page inside, the final report summary, then closed the drawer. This time he locked it, not to bury it, just to finish it. That evening he stood in his yard. The sun was low. Soft orange light spilled across the pavement. The kind of light you don't capture in photos, only memory. His phone buzzed once. A message from someone he hadn't spoken to in years. I saw what happened. What you did. You good. He didn't reply right away. Instead, he watched a father teach his kid to ride a bike down the block. Watched a neighbor repaint their porch without asking for permission. Watched people walk past his house without staring. It was normal, unremarkable. That was the victory. Later, he drove to the cemetery again. Same plot, his father's grave. This time he didn't bring flowers, just a folded paper from his desk, the one that once accused him of not belonging. He placed it down, let the wind take it. Didn't need to say anything, because the man buried there had always known. What others doubted, his father expected. Strength in silence, power in restraint, and a spine made of records, not rage. As he walked back to the car, he passed a groundskeeper. Young guy. Stopped him. You Marcus? Marcus paused. Yeah. The kid nodded. Thought so. My uncle used to talk about you. Said you didn't let him break you. Marcus shrugged. They never had the tools. One final moment. Back at home, he went to the hallway. The same one where once he'd hung a coat out of habit, even when no one was coming over. Now he framed something. Not a certificate. Not a headline. Just a single line, printed in small, black text. They tried to erase him, but what he built didn't need their permission to last. Then he turned off the light, closed the door, and walked into the rest of his life.